Rami Bar Chama. So Rami Bar Chama asked the following question. We've established earlier, or in 107b, 3 lines from the bottom. So we've already established in our Gemara, we learned earlier in we learned in Parak Meruba that if there's money that you have to pay a kefil, that if you steal something and then you're caught, you have to pay double the amount. But that money that you have to pay double, you never have to pay also a fifth. There's sometimes you have to pay a fifth. That where you steal something and then you deny it or you take something you deny it under oath, and then you admit it, you pay a fifth plus the principal. You pay an extra fifth and a carbon asham. So when you pay the double, you don't pay the fifth. And the Gemara is asking a question here. When you have to pay double, what is the mama? Is the money that's saying that you have to pay double? Is that what tells you don't have to pay the extra fifth? Or is it the oath? Let's say you swore that it was stolen from you when you were watching it, and then it turns out you were lying. But since you're paying kefil on that, you're exempt from the fifth. Meaning to say, what's the reason why you're exempt from the fifth? Is it because you're paying double, or is it because your oath was about the kefil, and so therefore it can't be about the fifth? That's the Gemara's question. What's exempting him from paying the fifth? Is it the money or is it the oath? Because on one oath, you can only be responsible for either kefil or chomesh, but not both. That's the Gemara's question. The Gemara is asking a question, well, what's the scenario here? Meaning to say, why do we care? Why do we care why you're liable? Hilchidami. Gemara says, no, Kagon Chatan Tanas Ganef. Let's say you claim you were watching it. I gave you my watch to watch, to my pen to watch. You claim it was stolen. Vinishba, you take an oath, the chazar, but then you come back again and you make another oath. But Tantanas Aved, and you make a claim that it was lost. Vinishba, and then you take another oath. So under those circumstances, you claim it was stolen, and then it was lost, and then you come back, you claim it was stolen, and you take an oath and you swear falsely, and then you come back, so then you have to pay kefil on the first time, and then you come back and claim it was lost, and you take an oath again. Witnesses come for the first one, meaning to say that he has to pay double for the first one, and then he admits to the second one. So do we say, do we say the money is what obligates him to pay the double, and therefore potro min hachomesh, and that money that obligates to pay kefil is what exempts him from the fifth. So therefore, we're on top of 108a. So since he's responsible to pay double on it, therefore he doesn't pay the 1/5. Or do we say it's the oath that he swore falsely, that's what says you pay double for the oath, and therefore you don't pay the 1/5 on it. And so therefore, but this second oath, since on the second oath you're not paying the double amount, therefore you should pay the extra fifth. So that's the question. A little arcane. So the Gemara says, Amar Rava Tashma, Amar La'echad min hashuk. So if somebody said to one person from the marketplace, he says, Heichon Shori, he says, where's my ox sheganavto? He says, where's the ox from me that you stole? Vomer lo ganavti. The guy, so I come up to you, I say, where's my ox? You say, what ox? He said, I said, where's my ox that you stole? So I didn't steal anything. So then you say to him, Mashbiachani. He said, take an oath. I'm making you take an oath. And he says, Amen, which is basically the equivalent of an oath. And so this is not an oath in court. I go up to a random person, I say, you stole my ox. He doesn't have to take an oath, but I say, take an oath. So he does. So that's not in a court. So therefore, there's less power. And then, and then witnesses come and testify that he did steal it. So he pays double for having stolen it. And if then he admitted on his own afterwards, if after that fact he comes along and admits it on his own, Mishalem, Karen, V'chomesh V'ashem. Under those circumstances, he pays the principal and the plus the 1/5. And he also has to bring the carbon asham. So in this case, this case we say hold him yatzmo in. Now, when do we say he has to pay this penalty? if he admits it on his own, but if he admitted it after the witnesses came, if he admitted it after the witnesses came, then he would not be responsible to pay the chomesh, but he would only have to pay the double amount. So if he admitted on his own, he have to pay the principal on the fifth. But if he admitted it after the witnesses came, then he only pays the double amount. So we see from here, if you want to say the oath that it obligates him to do the kefil, it exempts him from the chomesh. Why would you say after if he admits it after the witnesses he doesn't pay? It's the witnesses that are obligated to pay the oath, not the double, not the oath. And so therefore, Chumshi should be required to pay the fifth. So we see from here, the fact that you're obligated to pay the double, that's what exempts you from the Chumash. That's exactly the point. And Shmamina. You had a question, Greg?
No.
Okay, so Gemara says now, by Ravina. So basically, the basic bottom line is if you're paying the double penalty, you don't pay the fifth. That's it. You pay the double, but not the fifth. So Ravina asked the question, but what about gets a little okay? We're getting a lot of what about scenarios in today's daf. So by Ravina, chomesh v'kfela betray gavri mai. Let's say there's two people who have the obligation. Meaning there somehow or other there's one money and two people are going to be obligated. One is going to be obligated to pay the double amount, and the other one should be paying the fifth. What will be the law there? And the Gemara says, "Hey chidami, what's the scenario?" So the scenario is Kagon Shemasar Shoro L'Shnei Bnei Adam. Let's say he gave his ox to two people. Vitanu Botanas Ganav. So Reuven gave his ox to two people, to Shimon and Levi. And Shimon and Levi both claimed together that it was stolen. But only one of them took the oath. Chad Nishba Vahoda. One took the oath and admitted it. So only he is required to pay the fifth. The Chad Nishba, one took the oath. Ubao Adim, and the witnesses came. Do we say my me? I'm reading Bechag Gavra Kapid Rahman at home Masham Chumsha B'Kfela? Do we say when does the Torah say you don't pay the 1/5 in the Kfela when it's one person? But in this case, Hi Nish Shalom Kelev V'Hai Nish Shalom Chumsha. But in this case, we could say one person can pay the double, the one who didn't admit it, and the other one can pay the fifth, the one who admitted it. Odoma Ilave Chad Mamona Kapid Rahmana. Where the Gemara doesn't look at the people, or else the halacha is we look at the money, and on the money we're going to say that on one money we're going to say you can't have a fifth and a kfela. And so the Gemara says teku. You know what teku means, Mayor? Okay, this is a very, very important point. The Gemara says teku. It means we leave the question unresolved. There are lots of times in the Talmud where we say teku. It means we can't answer every question. We can't answer every question. Some say that teku means tishbi yitaritz kushos vabayos. That Elijah the prophet will one day come and answer all these questions. But the basic point is that teku means, okay, it's a good question. We don't know what to do under that circumstance, but this is not a far-fetched scenario. It happens every day. You could assume that. So we have to say that under this circumstance, we're going to say we adopt a stricter position. And if you don't resolve the case, then you're going to say that you leave the money where it is, and you can't take the money away from where it is. Okay. Now we have the next question. Boy Rav Papa. Trey chumshi or trey kafle b'cha gavrein mai. 2/5 penalties or two double penalties with one man. What will be the case? Gemara says again. What will we be talking about? Hey Chidami, what's the scenario? Are we talking about a case? This is the following case. We're talking about the following scenario. Shetan Tainas Avad. That the first guy claims it was lost. Vinishba, he takes the oath. Vahodan, he admits it. V'chazar v'tain, so then he has to pay 1/5. And then he comes back, v'chazar v'tain Tainas Avad. And then he comes back, and again it claims it was lost. Vinishba, Vahoda. Meaning to say, he keeps making the same mistake. He admits he lost it, and he did it. And then he takes the oath. Or Inam, he could go in Shaton Tanaskana. If he claims it was stolen, Vinishba, he takes the oath to Boedim, and again he claims it was stolen, Vinishba, Boedim. Do we say, in this case, me, I'm reading Trey Gamne Monica Amarachmana, Delon Shtami Ilave Chad, Ilave, Chad Mamona. Do we say that the Torah is telling us, when Torah says you don't pay 2/5, Now, do we say when the Torah says that you don't pay 2/5, do we say when it's two different types of money, meaning to say that then we're not going to say on one rejection and one money, we're not going to make you pay twice. But here we're going to say the two payments are the same type. And so therefore, they're both going to be obligated. Or do we say the Torah is telling us that you're never obligated to be two payments on one denial? Basically, are we looking at this as two separate cases or one case? And in which case, if it's one case, you wouldn't pay the double amount. So how do we answer this question? So the Gemara says, Tashma, let's try and answer it. It really is written Chamishisav, but he reads it as his fifth you add on. Could pay money, you can pay many fifths to one penalty, Shmamina. So you could pay more. But I saw a vort from Rameir Shapiro of Lublin. Take care, God willing, God willing. So the Torah is telling us, everybody's leaving. I'll see you guys later. Shkoyach. So have a great day, Akiva. Shkoyach. So here, Moshe, take a Gemara. Take a Gemara, Moshe. So Rameir Shapiro of Lublin says like this. Mayor, listen to this word. He says that when you the word chamishi so is 1/5, it also relates to the word 5, chamish. So he says when it comes to a sin, that in order to sin, a person is really using all their 5 senses. So in order to repent from that, you need to try to repent with all your 5 senses, meaning to say it takes your whole body to be going down the wrong direction. You have to try and bring your whole body back together. It has to be a holistic approach to spiritual healing. You got to look at the whole person, the whole body, the whole concept. What do we learn from that? You got to treat your body well, exercise, sleep process, be in the right frame of mind. You can't just like attack a sin as like a silo, as a silo. Everything. You can't attack a sin like a silo. It has to be a holistic approach to life. Eat properly. Yeah, everything has to be there. Okay, so now we come up to the next case. Let's say Tavua Baal Moshomer. So now, okay, if somebody has something and it's stolen, how much does the person who stole it have to pay back if they catch him? What did we say has to pay back? Well, if he stole a sheep and then slaughtered or sold it before times, or if he just stole a pen and then they catch him, he pays back double. Okay, so let's say now the person's watching and Reuben gives his pen to Shimon to watch. And then Reuben says to Shimon, "Where's my pen?" Benishba. Shimon says, "Listen, I didn't touch it, but you know what?" He says, "Listen, I don't want to have any tightness against me." Vishilim. He says, "I'm going to pay you. Listen, I don't want to walk around with somebody saying I owe him $100, like a brigus. I don't want to be upset. What does brigus mean? Brigus means to be angry. Yeah, bitter, right? Bitter, right? Brigus like broken, right? He doesn't want to be angry. So he says, I don't want that. So what does he do? He says he pays him. And then Hukar Aganaf. Then they find the thief. So now the thief has to pay double. So who does he pay the double to? Who should he pay the double to? The guy he took it from or the guy who paid him for it? So in general, we have a law that in general, you could acquire by paying the person from who stolen, you acquire the rights to the double. But in this case, he first took the oath. For me, Abai says the guy who owned the pen to begin with. Rava said, Lamisha Pikadon at low, no, to the watchman. Abai says to the person who owned the deposit of Nijli, even the Itchachei B'Shvur, because listen, he made him take an oath. You made him force him to take an oath. It doesn't sound like such a big deal, but it's like you have to go to court, you have to take your days off, you have to hire the lawyers, even though there's no lawyers, but I mean, you go through the hassle. So therefore, since he had to go to this extent, he didn't give him the double amount. Rava said, Misha, because they're not slow, Rava says to the one who has the double amount, the one who has the deposit with him, even the Shilaim, since he paid him, Makni like Fela. So once he paid him, then he's acquired the right to the double payment. The kamiflagi b'diyuka de masnisin. And both Rava and Abaye are arguing about how we interpret a Mishnah. The Tanan, we learned in the Mishnah, Hamafkid Eitzel Chavero Behema Ukelim. Let's say a person deposits with his friend an animal or utensils. V'nignevu osha avdu. And it was stolen or lost. Shilein v'loratzel ishav. He takes the oath because he pays because he doesn't want to take an oath. He could have been exempt by saying it was stolen. Nimtza ganav misham teshlume kefil. He gets the double penalty because he paid it off. He acquired the rights to the double. But Tabach Machar, as Moshe said, misham teshlume arba v'chamisha. Who gets the money? Right, to the guy who paid it rather than taking an oath. But Nishba v'loratzu, let's say he takes the oath and he didn't want to pay, v'nimtza ganav, and then you find the ganav, Misham Tashlume Kefel, Tabach Bachar Misham Tashlume Arba Chamisha, then who gets the money? Miu Mishalim, who gets the money? Because since the other guy didn't pay him, he took the oath, he didn't pay him. So Abaye Dayak Miresh, Abaye infers it from the first cause. Rabba Dayak Misefa, Rabba learns it from the last cause of the Mishnah. Abaye Dayak Miresh, Abaye learns it from the first cause. The Katani Shilein V'Loratzu Ishavi, he says he paid because he didn't want to take an oath, which implies, why did he acquire the double rights? Time until Loratzu Ishavi, because he didn't want to take an oath on the top of 108b. But that implies Hanishba, if he took the oath, even though he paid it, who does he pay it to? He pays it to the owner of the deposit, and therefore the owner of the deposit gets it. Verse Rava Diak Misefa. Rava interprets it from the Seifa. It says Nishba v'loratza l'shalim. If he takes the oath and he doesn't want to pay, time of the loratza l'shalim. What's the reason why he doesn't get it? Because he didn't want to pay. But Hashilim, if he paid it, even though he took the oath, so basically the Gemara says Abaye Abaye has a problem with the second clause of the Mishnah. Abaye would say this is what it means. If he took the oath and didn't want to pay prior to the oath, but he only wanted to pay after the oath, then the original owner gets it. And what would Rava do with the first clause? Rava said this is what it means. If he paid, but he didn't want to maintain his oath. If he paid after he took his oath, who gets the money? The person who has the pikadon. Okay, so now the Gemara has the next what if scenario. Tavu ba'am l'shomer. So let's say the owners make a claim from the watchman. Vinishba, the watchman takes the oath. He says it was he swears that it was stolen, he's exempt. Vinishba, and then after he takes the oath that it was stolen, V'hukar aganaf, they find the thief. Tavu shomer. So now, basically, let's just go over the scenario one more time. Reuben gives Shimon his pen to watch, and somebody steals it. Reuben says to Shimon, "Give me back my pen." Shimon says, "Listen, your pen was stolen." Takes an oath, so he doesn't have to pay. But now they find the thief. Levi stole it. So now, what happens? So now let's pick up the case. Tavu shomer. So now Shimon, who's the shomer, he's the watchman, he goes and he says to Levi, "Give me back my pen." Vahoda. And what happened was the thief says, "You know what?" Levi says, "You're right. It was the pen you were watching." He admits it. Tavu balim. Let's say the owner comes along and makes the claim, the kafar, and he denies it. Ve'viu edim. And the witnesses come along and testify that he was lying. So we want to know, mi nifter aganav bodar shomer, or lo nifter aganav bodar shomer. So the question is the ganav going to be exempt from paying double because he already admitted it? He didn't deny it. When you pay double, if you denied it, but he admitted it. But he admitted it to the watchman, but not to the owner. So is he going to be exempt here? So the question is, so Amar Rava explains, if he swore truthfully, then niftar aganav bodar shomer. Then since he swore truthfully, then the watchman really is standing in place of the owner, so therefore the thief will be exempt. But in b'sheker nishba, if he swore falsely, Then he's not exempt. So by Rava, now Rava has another question. The watchman was about to swear falsely. So let's say he was about to swear falsely. So the watchman was about to swear falsely, but they didn't let him take the oath. And then he made the claim against the thief and he admitted it. Mahu. So then it said Teku. Okay, another unresolved. So then the Gemara says, Tavu Baum. So Rav Kahana Masni Achi. Rav Kahana learned it as follows. Rav Tavyumi Masni by Rav Nishbo Shaker Mahu. Let's say he swore falsely. What would be the case? Let's say the Shomer swore falsely and then he found the guy and he made a claim. Versus Teku. Okay, another unresolved. Tavu Baum was Shomer. Let's say the owner makes the claim against the watchman. Mishilem, the watchman says, you know what? I'll pay for it. He didn't want to take an oath. And afterwards, Hukar Aganif, and afterwards they find the thief. So afterwards they find the thief. Tavu Balim, who makes the claim against the thief? The owner, Vahoda, and he admits it. Tavu Shomer, and now the Shomer comes along and makes the claim, the Kafar, and he denies it. Ve'evi Edim. And now we bring witnesses. So in this case, the watchman paid and the owners didn't pay. But now the guy denied it to the watchman and then they found witnesses. So do we say, Mi Amrina Matzi Amarway, can we say that the Shomer could say to the Baalim, Atun, you, Kivin the Shakil to Dmei, once you took my money, you're out of this picture. Odilma Matzi Amarway, or maybe the watchman, or maybe the owners could say, just like you did us a favor by paying for us. And then Nami Avdina, we're also doing a favor for you. Terchinan Basar Ganva. We're going after the robber. Shakalna Didan, Ushko Adidach. We took our money, you take your money. So from the fact that he admitted to us, that's enough for you to get your money. You're not entitled to the double. So now, next case, Itmar. We learned Nignava Ba'onis. Let's say it was stolen by an armed robber. Vahukar Aganav, and then we find the thief. So Amar Bayim Shomer Chinamahu. Let's say he's an unpaid watchman, so therefore he's exempt. So he's exempt, but now you found the robber. So if he's a Shomer Chinam, Ratza Osei Modin, Ratza Nishma. If he wants to, he can go try to get the money back, or else he can take an oath and say, I'm exempt. That's his right. He has both rights. Im Shomer Sacharhu, but let's say he's a paid watchman. A paid watchman is a paid watchman under these circumstances. We're going to say that even though he's exempt, nevertheless, since he's a paid watchman, Osi Modin, he's obligated to pay the owners and then go back, get the money back from the thief. The Eno Nishpa. And he doesn't take the oath. The paid watchman, he's paid, so he has to go back the money back. And Rava Amar Osi Modin Eno Nishpa. Rava says in both cases, even the unpaid watchman, pay back the money and then it's your job to get it. Is this an argument with Rav Huna bar Avin? The Shalch Rav Huna bar Avin. Nigneva ba'ones. Let's say it was accidentally stolen. It was stolen, by armed robbers. V'hukar aganaf. Then you found the robber, the robber. Im shomer chinamhu. If he's unpaid, ratza ose modin, ratza nishpa. Im shomer sacharu ose modin ve'ino nishpa. So very, this is the question on Rava, because Rava clearly is arguing with Rav Huna bar Avin, because he says even in the case of actually it's a question on both of them, that Rava's arguing with Rav Huna bar Avin, because what was Rava's ruling? Rava's ruling, we just said, in the previous case, Rava said that both of them, that they have to give the money back to the owner, and then and they don't take an oath, they have to go get the money back from the thief. But Rav Huna bar Avin says that if it was stolen, and then they found the thief, if he's a shomer chinam, he's the option of either trying to get the money back or swearing that he wasn't responsible. And if he's a shomer sachar, then he has to go get the money back to Eino Nishpa. So he seems to be arguing with Rav Huna bar Avin. So no, what we're talking about is going shekadam v'nishpa. He went ahead and he took the oath right away, meaning to say before they found the thief. But once they find the thief, then even Rav Huna would admit that if they found the thief before he took the oath, that he'd have to go pay the owner and then go back the money. Mar says, but that's not what it says. Mar says, this is what it means. Ratza shomer chinam ome b'shvuata. Ratza, but Ratza osei modin. If he wants to, he could stand by his oath and he's exempt. But if he wants to, he can go and and try and get the money back from the robber. Then the Gemara asks another question. The Gemara has another scenario. Rabba Zuta Baila Hachi. Rabba Zuta had the following scenario. Nignava ba'ones. Let's say it was stolen by force. The Hechzir Ganav base shomer, and then the robber returns it to the watchman's house. Umeisa b'pshia. Okay, fine. So the scenario is like this, Mayor. So the watchman is exempt from robbery. So the guy robs him. So now he's exempt, right? Because he robbed him. But then the robber returned it. Now the watchman is not exempt from negligence. Like if you leave your door open so the dog runs away, I give you my dog to watch, and you leave the door open so the dog runs away, even though you're not paid, you're still responsible because you're negligent. But in this case, what happens here? Somebody stole it. So I gave you my dog. Somebody stole the dog. So you're not responsible. But then the guy returns it, and then you leave the door open. So what's the law there? Do we say, mi amrinan kivan denignav ba'ones? Do we say once it was stolen, and therefore he's exempt, kal yolei shmira? So you're done. You're meaning to say you no longer have any responsibility to watch it? Or do we say, odilma kivan da hadra l'shmira? Or do we say we've rekindled the responsibility to watch it again under those circumstances? And you leave that question unresolved. Teiku, that question is unresolved, even though that's actually happens probably sometimes. So that's the scenario. Okay, anybody have any questions about this?
Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
Seems like once